Hey everybody, Slau here. I wanted to do a little demonstration of dragging files from the clips list to the timeline, and specifically this has come up many times over the years on the PT access list. And the simplest thing to tell people was, listen, just import audio to track, and that's the best thing. Currently, there is no way to import all audio to a single track, but what a sighted user would do is import audio to the, our shortcut in the dialog still says Command R, like for regions list, because it used to be called regions list. But a sighted user would import clips to the clips list, and then let's say they had a number of files that they wanted to drag to one track. They could select everything, and providing the drop order was set to left to right, you could just drag everything and it would just line up end to end, each clip in the order that they appear in the clips list. And it was a bit challenging. Back in the day, it was a little bit easier to do, and then I gave up and just said, you know what, just import it to new tracks and then copy and paste. And then I decided to revisit it, and there never used to be a timeline drop order years ago. I mean, that's been around for a couple of years, of course, but I really never looked into it because I just got so used to importing audio to new tracks and then copying, etc. But I revisited it, and it really is so easy that I thought I'd just do a little audio tutorial on how to do it and what you can do, because there are a couple of options, and I'll try to cover them. And just one thing at the outset: if you try to do this in a new session where you haven't created any tracks, I didn't even realize until today, because I thought maybe I'd just do this right from scratch. If you open up a new session, a new Pro Tools session, a blank one with no tracks in it, a VoiceOver does not see the tracks list table. Even though it's technically there, VoiceOver will not see it because there's no contents in it, which is interesting. I didn't know that. There is a workaround if you use Keyboard Maestro, and if you aren't using Keyboard Maestro, you should. But anyway, I'm going to, I have one track created in this session just to make things a little simpler for now, and I'm going to try to show this in a couple of different ways. The first way is perhaps the easiest, and it does not require Keyboard Maestro at all. So I imported a few clips into the clips list, so they are not located in the session. Okay, and I'm in the clips list right now.
Audio clip 6 for Spanish. Audio clip 6 on piano. Stereo.
Yeah. So I have. I'm just going to select.
Press. Selected. Audio clip. Press. Select. Audio clip. Press. Select. Audio clip. Press. Selected. Selected.
Yes, I have 4 clips.
Selected. Audio. Selected. Audio.
All right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to issue a mouse down command, Control Option Command Shift Spacebar. Okay. I'm going to do that right now, and I'm obviously focused on one of these clips, and I do have the mouse pointer following the VoiceOver cursor. All right, so I'm issuing that command. Oh, am I in the mix window?
Edit. Drag task.
Yeah, I'm in the edit window. That's where I want to be. All right, so I'm issuing that mouse down command.
Mouse down on edit. Drag task window.
Okay, and now I'm going to navigate to the tracks list table.
Close button. Edit mode cluster. Tracks. Track list table, row 1 of 1.
All right, so I'm in the
interact with track list table.
I'm in the tracks list table now. Now, it doesn't matter where I go in this table, as long as I'm anywhere in the table, okay? If I issue the mouse up command,
Mouse up on.
a new track is created, okay? In this case,
Show 6 1 piano button. Column 1, row 2.
well, here's
Selected audio 1 audio track.
the audio one, which was the first audio track in the session. And what it did is right below it,
Selected 6 1 piano audio track.
it created a new track, and it took the name of the first clip in the list, okay? And right at the top, at 0 seconds, the first clip, the piano, is inserted. If I tab over to the next clip, there's a Spanish guitar. Next clip is a snare. And then applause. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You're very kind. Anyway, so that is an easy way to drag any selected clips, and providing in the clips pop-up menu. Here, let me get to that
Item chooser menu.
table.
2 items. Track list. Clips table. Clips table. Tab up. Reads. Track list table. Row 2 of 2. Show 6. Clip list. Pop up.
In the clip list pop-up,
Menu. Clear. Check. Find. Ellipsis connect. Timeline drop order.
the last item is called timeline drop
Press.
order,
Timeline drop order. Submenu.
and in there
Timeline drop order. Submenu. Top to bottom.
you have top to bottom or
Check mark. Left to right.
left to right. Now, if you select left to right, it will perform the action just as you've just seen, just as I've done. The clips will be dropped in a single track from left to right. If you have top to bottom selected, then what it'll do is it will do what happens when you import audio to track. It'll create new tracks, one for every clip. And incidentally, if you have
Clip list. Pop up button.
if you have left to right selected, and let's say you've selected 3 stereo tracks and 2 mono tracks, what'll happen is that it will create a stereo track and a mono track. It'll drop the 3 stereo clips into the stereo track, and it'll drop the 2 mono tracks into mono track. If you have MIDI regions selected, it'll drop those clips, those MIDI clips, in order onto a MIDI track. So let me get rid of the audio in this track. Okay, I'm just deleting. And let me make sure
Close button. Edit tracks. Track list. Interact with. Show audio 1 button.
that we only have, I'm going to hide,
Show 6 1 piano button.
I'm going to hide the track that was created.
Press. Hidden 6 1 piano button.
Okay, and I'm,
Show audio 1 button.
all right, so now I'm going
Audio 1
to
audio track. Press. Selected 6 1 piano. Press. Selected audio 1 audio track.
just make sure that audio 1 is selected, okay? Let me go over to make sure, there's a keyboard shortcut for this, but I just want to show you where this is, just in case you want to navigate to it manually.
One item. Audio 1. Track name. Audio 1. Track
So
name.
I'm in the edit window within the track, audio 1. To the left of the name
Track options. Pop up button.
is the track options.
Menu check mark. Medium.
So right now this track height is set to medium, okay?
Large. Jumbo.
I'm going to set it to jumbo. You can go extreme
Fit to window.
or even fit to window.
Jumbo.
I find jumbo is fine for this purpose, okay?
Track options. Pop up.
So I've set the track height to jumbo. All right, now here's where the use of Keyboard Maestro would come in handy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drag those clips to an existing track. Okay, so the first way I'm going to do this is, I'm going to go to the clips list again.
Item chooser menu. 2 items. Track list. Clips table. Clips table.
Clips
Track,
table.
audio clip. 6 1 piano. Stereo. Time date selector. Sample.
Let me make sure. Well, actually,
Audio clip. Applause. Stereo. time date
these have
selector.
not. These are not selected because I have clip selection follows timeline selection, etc. So when I deleted those clips before in the timeline, everything got deselected from the clips list.
Press. Selected. Audio clip. Set. Press. Select audio clips. Press. Selected. Audio clips. Press. Selected.
Okay, so I've just selected these things from bottom to top, and if you have focus on the clips list, you could press Command-Shift-A to select all clips if that's what you want to do, instead of selecting them individually. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to issue a mouse down command, okay? And then...
Mouse down on edit. Drag test window.
Okay. I'm using a shortcut that I created using one of the default sort of modules in Keyboard Maestro, which is move mouse to center of screen. I don't even have the edit window maximized per se. I suppose if I wanted to be on the safe side, I should do that, but this will pretty much, I think, work. So I set my own shortcut of Command Control Shift C, and
mouse move to center of current window.
Okay, so mouse move to center of current window, and I'm gonna mouse up.
Mouse up on edit. Drag test window.
Okay, so now the clip is in the timeline. Now this dragged it to the center of the timeline as we were as it was being viewed, and depending on your zoom settings, etc., it's going to drop it at whatever, various points in the timeline. So here,
1:37.1.
yeah, like it dropped it like 1 minute and 37 seconds into the timeline. Okay, and here, if I go to the top, it's not there. I'm hitting tab. There's the piano. There's the Spanish guitar, etc., now with modified drags, which you can do in El Capitan. I don't have El Capitan on this system. This is Yosemite on the studio computer. I have not upgraded yet, and I'm not sure if I will for a little while, but for the time being, I'm not going to. With El Capitan, you can do a modified drag if you set, say, the VoiceOver keys to be caps lock only, for example. And then you could do like for example, if you wanted to drag to an insertion point, like let's say you had a very specific spot and you had an insertion point in the timeline where you wanted to drag, you would do a control drag from the clips list. You can't do that in Yosemite unless you have a control surface. For what it's worth, I'll do it with a control surface. I'm deleting this audio now, so we have nothing in the timeline. For what it's worth, I'll do it just to show you that it can be done. And essentially, in El Capitan, you wouldn't even need a control surface. So in this case, let's say I want to insert the clips starting at, let's go to 3 seconds. So
0:03.000.
okay, so I've set the insertion point to 3 seconds. Let's go back to
Item chooser menu. Text 2 items. Track list. Clips table.
clips table.
Collapse 6:4 Spanish guitar. Audio clip 6:1 piano.
Okay, so again,
Audio clip up.
yeah. Well, you know what? I don't have to drag all of them.
Audio clip 6:1 piano. Stereo.
I'm just going to drag the piano.
Press selected.
So I've selected the piano, and I'm going to issue a mouse down command, but since it has to be modified, in this case, I can't use the Control Option Command Shift mouse down. That has to be done with the numpad commander. So I'm going to turn that on with Control Option caps lock.
Numpad commander on.
Okay, so numpad commander is on, and by default the 3 key, I think that it's a default, I don't remember. If it's not the default, you have to check your own system. I believe 3 is the default. So I'm going to issue a mouse down command, but in this case, since I want the clip to be dragged to the insertion point at 3 seconds, I'm going to do a control drag. Okay, so if you have an Avid control surface, you have the sort of to the bottom left. I think all of them are pretty much to the bottom left. This has been the case even since the motor mix days, like 15 years ago. You would have a control, command, shift, option, like in a little quadrant. So I'm going to hold the control key down on the control surface while issuing the mouse down command.
Mouse down on edit, drag test window.
Okay, now I'm going to use the the keyboard Maestro shortcut to drag to the center to the timeline, but right now it is being dragged with the modifier. So
mouse move to center of current window.
I'm moving to center of window. I'm doing a mouse up with the again from the numpad number 3.
Mouse up on edit, drag test window.
Okay, so I'm just going to play. There's the piano, which right now
003.000
resides at 3 seconds. So hopefully, again, if you wanted to drag more than just one, you could do that, of course, but that's just the idea. And again, in El Capitan, you could do that modified drag. I'm like 99.9% sure that you could just do that. If caps lock is the voiceover key, you can do a modified drag in El Capitan without necessarily using a control surface. So hopefully that helps people. And, like I'm going to say on the list when I post this, hang on to this file just in case somebody else asks how to do this, and they could follow along and play along at home. Okay, guys, later.